Before I start, if you're looking for some cheap Ultimate Team coins, then check out FIFAUltimateTeamCoins.com and use the discount code VIMTO for 5% off. Alright guys, how's it going, and welcome to the second episode of this, helping you get better at FIFA series. Now, as you can tell, this time I did actually use a pretty good team. Ronaldo being the standout player there alongside the lone Bale, because this was the final of the Footmas Cup, the online tournament, and this episode is going to be a little bit different because I came up against a player who I consider to be a really good player. Now usually I'll play this series against a player who's sort of average but typical of most FIFA players and makes most similar mistakes, but this guy was a solid player with a good team and played pretty well, so I think this made it better in the sense that I beat him. It was a close game. This game was more of a midfield battle as opposed to who could just get it to their fastest strikers the quickest. It was actually quite tactical in the sense it was hard to break down the other player, and it was an interesting game to play, so I'm going to try and show you a few things that I did to help me eventually beat this guy and win this game. Now in this game, the first chance came after about 10 minutes, and it was a little bit of a dummy there from Hernandez to create the chance, which was quite a nice bit of play. However, from here, Ronaldo has the ball. Now, usually most people would probably just head the ball towards goal, and they probably wouldn't do anything, it would go straight into the keeper's hands. But instead, I decided to head it back across the box. I pressed the pass buttons ahead, and that creates a chance that wasn't there in the first place. So if you got the ball at the back post from a header, don't always go for goal. Sometimes try and see if there's a player in the middle, and if there is, try and head it back across the goal and you might create another chance. Now this play was different in the sense that he tried to keep the ball and play possession football, but in this position here you can see that I've got everyone on my team behind the ball apart from my striker Hernandez. There's no point in me here in rushing to get the ball. I'm in a good position, all my players are in good positions, there is no need for me to rush out to get the ball. So all I do is I control one player and I follow the ball. I try and block the pass and just follow the ball, and eventually it goes straight to Ronaldo's feet and then can counter attack. But the point is, if you've got a good position, if you hold a good position, don't rush your players to tackle. Just try and block the passing paths, and then if you do that, you should be able to get the ball eventually because there will be no options on for the other player. Now, about 25 minutes into this game, this guy did what you shouldn't do, and he tried to take control of his defender and come out of defence. So as you can see here, he's left a massive gap in between his centre-back and his full-back, and that means Gareth Bale can run straight into that gap, so I've got an easy free ball on. Now from here, I could cross the ball, but I noticed that Hernandez is right there in a bit of space, and he's not the tallest player ever, so I think instead of doing that, there's space, so there's no need for me to rush in, and instead I'll just cut inside and just run into the space. Well, that takes me by surprise, so he then tries to control his centre-back company and come out to the ball. However, from this point, I can just move inside because his defence is all over the place, and eventually it just leaves me quite an easy finish on in the far post. And that's all utilised from me, just using the space, not rushing into a cross, and making the most out of the opportunities that were there. Soon after my goal, he actually equalises. Now this is all my fault, because what I should do here is, as soon as I see the ball coming up to Ibrahimovic, I should think to get into that space and block any shot that he might have. But I think in this situation that I can get the ball before Ibrahimovic and tackle him before he even gets to control the ball. However, because it's Zlatan Ibrahimovic and he's got a lot of strength and a lot of agility, he gets the ball before me, he chests it down and he scores the goal. But that could have all been prevented if I had just stepped in front of him and waited till he controlled it and then tried to tackle him instead of trying to tackle him straight away. Next up is a good example of using the second player press. Now he's got Ibrahimovic just in front of my defence and behind my midfield in quite a good position. So what I do here is I get my player on the ball, Modric, and just sort of jockey him and try and keep quite close to him. But as soon as I see he gets into this position, I can press R1, which is RB on Xbox, and that brings Pepe out. Now as soon as it brings Pepe out, that leaves quite a gap in my defence. However, I know that I've got a midfielder on the left hand side, and I've got myself on the right hand side. Whichever way he tries to get past me, I've got him covered, whether that be left, right or straight ahead. In the end, he tries to cut back and go on the left, and that means I can just tackle him and get the ball off him. Now about halfway through the second half, I get a chance. Now this guy does what you shouldn't do, as I said before. He takes control of his defence and he tries to use his defence to tackle me manually. However, as soon as you do that, that always leaves gaps, and I use a first time fake shot with Hernandez. Now I use first time fake shots a lot and they create so much space, and it's unexpected and it usually always works. And luckily I didn't score it, but it's a good chance created from a nice bit of air play. Next up, this chance is all created from one midfield runner. As soon as I get the ball with Xavi, I press L1 or LB on Xbox, and as soon as I do that, Modric starts to make a run. Now I can see Hernandez there and Modric continuing to run, so what I do is I pass the ball to Hernandez and do a little quick turn, and while Modric continues running I can create a bit of space for him. And that allows him to get the shot off and I don't score it. However, if you sometimes just press L1, you can get a midfielder to make a run. If you pass it to a striker and then lay it off to the player, that usually creates quite a good chance because the defender does not expect the midfielder to keep running, and that usually makes a little bit of space behind the defence. Soon after, this game goes into extra time. Now as I said before, I'm not really into long shots in this game, I don't find them that effective. However, sometimes if I'm about 20 to 25 yards out, I think just have a crack. I usually always aim far post and usually power between 2 and 2.5 bars. And if I do that, then I'm usually guaranteed to get a good shot off. If it doesn't go in, then it'll get saved. But in this case, Toni Kroos scores the goal, and that puts me 2-1 up in this game. Great long shot, far post, and it goes in. Now after that goal, he obviously needs to score, so he tries to press and score. Now he gets the ball just in front of my defence and behind my midfield. So what I do is I make sure I stick with my midfielder on the ball. I don't change my player to the defender. I stick with my midfielder and try and chase him down. But as soon as I do that, I press R1 or RB, which is second player press. And that brings one of my centre backs out into the centre to try and tackle him. So I know that now. If he runs down that alleyway, I can tackle him. Or if he tries to cut inside, I can tackle him with my midfielder. So either way, I've got him blocked into this position. In the end, he carries on running in a straight line, and my defender tackles him automatically. But I didn't control my defender once there. All I did was press R1, and the computer did the rest for me. Soon after that though, I get a third goal, and this comes from him once again making the fatal error of controlling his defence and trying to get the ball off me too quickly. And that leaves a really easy 1-2, and in the end I've got so much time with Bale, I think no point of rushing the shot, I'll cut inside and just finesse it far post. And that's what happens, and that makes it 3-1. So 1-2s are really useful. If the player presses you, he tries to close you down quickly. Hold L1 to make the player make a run after the pass, and then release him, and that's what I did with Gareth Bale. He gets loads of time and he finishes it to make it 3-1. So the game finishes soon after, and I win the New Year's Cup. But this guy I thought was a really good player. He kept the ball really well and he waited for the chance. His only mistake was just pressing too high up. And even though that's quite effective, as long as you know what to do to get past it, it's quite easy. Just keep looking for 1-2s, keep looking for really good first touches. First time fake shots, as I've said, are really effective. You can get them down to a T. And also try and use 2 players to defend, don't just choose 1. And always try and use a midfielder to tackle if you can. Try not to control the defender manually, because that's usually where people will just run past you. Try and defend in numbers and don't rush to the ball if possible. But yeah, once again, thanks for watching guys, and if you have any questions, please do let me know, and I'll try and get another episode out in the near future. Give it a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.